Looks like we're live with WJHI, and we've got a special guest today from Bellarmine University. It takes me about 13 minutes to get there from Jeffersonville High School, and I want to welcome Coach Shuck to Jeff High. So welcome.
Thanks, Coach.
If I talk too fast, I apologize. I'm real excited to do this show with Coach Shuck today because it's been a long time since Louisville or Kentucky anyway, had a Division I wrestling team. So those that are watching out there and don't know, Bellarmine University is the only Division I wrestling school in the state of Kentucky. In my coaching lifetime, I can't even remember another one. I know UK had a Division I program way back, and Morehead State did way back, but it's pretty exciting. And so let's just start off the question that I think everybody would want to know. You finally got to go to your first derby being in Louisville. Are you super rich now?
I am not one of those that unfortunately picked the longest shot to win derby. That wasn't me, but man, what an incredible experience. It was. I never could imagine what it was going to be like. You know, you watch it on TV and you see all the people, you see the hype and all that, and you hear people talk about how it's one of the best sporting events and and all the events across the world, and it 100% delivered. It was a truly magical experience. Everybody was awesome there. You just kind of had that lot of Kentucky pride, and even the people that were from California, from whatever, New York, wherever it was, they all say, I hear a bunch of people, hey, we're Kentuckians today, and so that was that was really cool. The staff there working the event was super hospitable. It was truly a magical experience. So I can't wait till the next one, man. That'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, when they show celebrities there and high-level coaches there, I mean, I saw Aaron Rodgers, Drake, and Ned Shuck at Bellarmine University. It was pretty.
They had
awesome.
they had me on the big jumbotron, right? Right after Donald Trump went up, then it was me.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, they call it the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, but I would argue they've never been to the blood round of the NCAA finals, which, if you're watching, wrestling is 2 minute periods, third period's 2 minutes, so I think we'd agree that's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports.
I'd agree with you. Yep, I would.
To start off, I just want to say a few things about the Jeffersonville Connection and Bellarmine. So Bellarmine's real close to us. A lot of our camera people that work with Mr. Abels and Mr. Dench here do a lot of TV and stuff over there. But I was looking at Twitter last night, and I was pretty excited. I saw Larry Owens, your baseball coach, got his 212th win. And for those watching, know that Larry, Coach Owens, lives here in Jeffersonville. His picture, if you go down on your way out, is in our Hall of Fame down there because he played a bunch of places. I think the White Sox and things. But he just got his became Bellarmine's all-time winningest coach and is a Jeffersonville grad. You also there have a NCAA on your NCAA championship basketball team. You had a guy named Jeremy Kendall. I know on your softball team we have Kalia Edwards and Lizzie Coons. These people all had in weightlifting class, so remember them well. Jalen Fairman's on your basketball team. Amaya Baker and Jordan Poole. One day I was actually walking around Bellarmine campus this summer, and I saw Jordan and Amaya both there for track. Your NCAA All-American and conference champ, Rachel Walker, was a Jeff High All-State swimmer. Megan McEwen, Connor Diggler, and then Ethan English on your baseball team. He's a right-handed pitcher and a DH. But you've also had a couple wrestlers. I'm going to ask about a couple of them. In the past, you had Adonis Boyd there as a Jeff grad. Josh McCorkle just graduated from Bellarmine and is a IU law school student. So that tells you what kind of students are at Bellarmine. And then Josh Craig. Josh Craig could write a list of experiences, I'm sure. But do you got any little short story about Josh Craig or anything? Just since we had him for 1 year. So
yeah, well, thanks for sharing all those connections. Some of them I knew for sure, some of them I didn't. So that's awesome. And yeah, we got to keep that train rolling from the wrestling side of things, get some more in there. But yeah, to speak with my last year with Josh he's just a phenomenal human being, and obviously academically has done very, very well and set himself up well after graduation this year. But I think the coolest time I had with him, in the room, all that stuff was cool, but the coolest time with him was actually, going out to lunch with him and him telling me that, he's going to propose to his then girlfriend, and now now she said yes. So hey, we're all set up, and his fiance. So that was just a cool moment, something that I appreciate, just being able to talk to my athletes on a different level, and Josh is one of those guys that gave a ton to Bellarmine, and for me to, maybe slide a couple words of advice. Having been married for 15 years, his way, whether he takes it or not, that'll be up to him. But he's an incredible kid.
Man, that's awesome. I'm saying this from a high school coach, thanking you. I don't know if you remember, maybe we talked about it. We probably met 15 years ago. We were at an NWCA convention. We were in the same little group. And the other night, Dave Corral came down, and he was talking to me. And Dave's a wrestling coach in Pennsylvania, 9-time state champ. And I started remembering he was like our mentor guy, and we had a little mentor group. And I think it was me, you, Matt Oney, a couple other guys. And I remember I was young, so I probably didn't say much, or maybe said something stupid, much like I am now. But I guess what I'm saying is thank you. As a high school coach, I don't get to hear a kid propose to his. I hope they don't. At 16, I hope they don't propose.
Slow it down a little bit, yeah.
But on the college level, I mean, that's a real thing that you see, that my transition point in their life could be meeting the girl they might marry someday. Rarely, but I mean, you're there kind of in a big life transition. So thank you.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a cool time, man. Yeah, it was fun to talk with them about that. But yeah, the college age is such a unique development stage. You get to see, like you said, a lot kind of leading up to those, and get to lay the foundation a little bit in the groundwork. And yeah, I get to kind of pop in for the cherry on the top for some of the life's biggest blessings, I would say.
Oh, good. That way his girlfriend can call it. Now she can call us both if he's being ridiculous. But Josh is awesome. So I'm going to move into some questions that I'm wanting to know, and maybe our listeners want to know. You just moved into your first head role as a Division I coach. Is that right?
Yeah. So I've been a head coach before at the Division III level, and a head high school coach. But this is my first Division I head coaching position. Yep. So
what is like the what are some of the things that people ask you that are like, all you do is wrestling all day? You must just show double legs. Like, what do you do all day? What is the role of a Division I coach?
Yeah, you say that. It is really funny because a lot of people, will ask, hey, well, so what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a head wrestling coach at Bellarmine University. And they always follow up with, is there anything else? Do you do anything else? I think a lot of times people think, yeah, it's just showing up for practice, right? And they think I get a full-time salary for just practice. It couldn't possibly be just that. I must be a professor, and I must be this and that, right? And there are some other levels. At the Division III level, I was a professor as well, which was cool. But yeah, I'm incredibly passionate about just spending my time on building our program. And so, yeah, that role is big because it's, there's a lot that goes into, the training and preparation for that. But the recruiting piece is very labor intensive. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into that. And you have, fundraising and marketing and, game day events and the social media component. So there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I'm blessed. I get to wake up every morning saying, man, I guess I'm going to, get up and work on my, developing our program today, So I don't have too many sleepless nights worrying about going to work the next day, so it's a pretty cool spot.
That's awesome. Like you mentioned so many things that, and even as a high school coach, people think you just coach wrestling. Right. To me, that'd be a trainer, right? Like I'm not a wrestling trainer, you're a wrestling coach. Yeah. And you're mentoring guys that are getting married. I mean, it's a little more than just on the mat. So when you're doing that, though, like you're recruiting these people, and their high school coach is saying, should they come to Bellarmine? Well, what's your leadership style that they're looking for?
Yeah, I think maybe everybody's looking for something a little bit different. I think for my leadership style and how I lead the program, I generally, take it of a business mindset a little bit more in terms of how I organize and manage the program. A lot more interpersonal style, and it's the direct interactions with the people involved, parents and and wrestlers. But you mentioned the NWCA. They a while back is a big part of where I learned that was, hey, you need to be a CEO. You need to lead your organization in the same way a CEO would his business. Yeah. And so from that side of things, there's a lot that goes into it with managing my staff, right, and all my team, which is all my wrestlers, of course, but also all the people, my athletic director, our sport admin, right, sports information, all the people in the budget office and the business office, right. So there's a lot of collaboration that's happened across the board. But for me, I take that leadership style of, hey, I'm a CEO. And I'm going to do so within a, in terms of philosophy-wise, how would I go about that? Would be, hey, my role is to serve. My role is to serve these guys on this team to make sure that they're getting experience that is second to none. when they become part of the Bellarmine wrestling program, they're getting something that they're going to remember for the rest of their life, right? Something that they're going to look back and say, wow, that was incredible, coach. That was, that's everything I wanted and more. And most importantly, it's set themselves up. I'm still a believer in the college model that, hey, going to college is very valuable, opportunity for kids when they're choosing, hey, do I go work or do I go to college? And there's definitely different paths people can take, but to be able to pursue your passion in the sport of wrestling and getting a college degree to help set yourself up, in the future for, your career success and a job you love doing, that's really what my role is, I feel, is to serve and mentor them along the way to get there. And, I have the oversight of the entire organization, if you will, as a CEO as well. So that's a little bit of my style or my approach, I guess you'd say.
So I know, a few months back, let's just say a year back, I'm looking at Twitter and Bellarmine has this new coach, and you could tell, I'm going to pat you on the back. Across the country, wrestling coaches, I think, were excited for you, right?
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, Coach Shuck's, super well liked. I don't hear one person ever say a bad thing. And so instantly I'm like, well, good. Josh Craig's got 1 year with a good guy. And but you're talking about giving these guys things and giving them the great college experience, and things he's not saying on here, things like your whole team would be at a basketball game, your whole team would be at a girls' basketball game, your whole team would be at a volleyball game. But I'm going to switch it. What do you get out of this? I know you're not selfish, but I want to know, what do you get out of coaching?
Yeah, so, there's obviously there's a lot that I receive back, right? But, I think the heart of what I do, and maybe why you're hearing people say good things, which maybe I fooled everybody, so that's good. but ultimately, the more I give without expecting something to receive, and reciprocation back, I think the better it is for everyone involved, right? You mentioned our guys going to games and stuff like that, and that's been my message to my team is, hey, we're going to do these things because it's a good time. We're going to hang out together, being positive. Oh, and we get to support another Bellarmine team that we love and care deeply about, it's going to be a good time. And so from that side of things, the team has really bought into that big and go out and support in large numbers for the other sporting events, and that's huge. And, to circle back, what do I get out of it? Yeah, I get, there's a level of fulfillment, that you get as a coach that you are making a difference, right? And, for me, obviously, I don't apologize for my faith and my background there, and I think a lot of people see that interaction on an individual basis, when you're part of my team, or maybe some of the coaches and things that you talk to, but I think, from that mentality, that's where it comes from. Hey, we give with the idea, hey, we're here to love people up, love my team, love these people are part of the larger part of what we're doing, and, without this conditional, and we're expecting this back, and we're expecting that. And so for me, man, I get to do, like I said earlier, I get to wake up doing what I love doing. And, it's really hard to think about what else would I be doing right now. I mean, there's other things that I'm interested in, right? And enjoy doing, but yeah, to see a kid, get into his career and start kicking butt and love that, those are what for me is the most rewarding, to seeing what happens after. And I've coached a lot of highly successful guys in terms of accomplishments on the mat, but, I ask our recruits this a lot, hey, can you name all the 4-time national champions that you've had, that have ever been. Yeah. Right? And so far I've had 0 recruits be able to tell me all of the 4-time national champions that ever existed. It's well, I tell you that, I ask that question with a picture in mind of if you come here and have a perfect wrestling career, right? Win 4 national championships. Don't get any better than that, right? From the accomplishment side of things. If you do that and you come win 4, but guess what? Nobody even remembers that. 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the line, don't even remember all those people have did it perfectly. So really, hey, yeah, we're shooting for that, right? We don't apologize for winning. We're going to push for that, but ultimately, there's everything behind that, the training, the development, me mentoring them as men, right? That's really what is going to make the big difference in their life, and the real true fulfillment for me in terms of what I get out of seeing them be successful. So that's what I would say in terms of what I get back from it.
I know this here show, it's ironic you brought that up. So we were talking in class the other day, when kids say, oh, I lost, or, I'm a loser because I lost. And so some kids said it right after the Super Bowl. And I said, so the loser of the Super Bowl, they're losers, which means every person in the NFL not on the #1 team is a loser. I just don't believe that. So I like that you brought that up. What is Tom Ryan always says? More guys have been on the moon that have won four national titles. So,
that's a good point.
You know, that's what we're making. That's a great thing to be with it. And then when you were talking about your faith, I just kept thinking about how beautiful the Bellarmine campus is, and it has that beautiful church that looks over the campus,
awesome.
And it sounds like a perfect fit for you.
Yeah, it's great.
So with that, then, so we've got what you get out of it, what the kids get out of it, but where are you going to go from here? What's the vision going on?
Yeah, so when I think about vision for the program, there's we mentioned the accomplishment stuff, right? From that side of things, we want to continue to pursue winning the SoCon conference championship and putting multiple guys into the national tournament, All-American national champion status, right? And so there's a stepping stone approach that's probably going to happen to that. You always want more quicker as a coach, but I feel like we've done a lot of the foundational work this first year. I've been here about 10 months now. And so doing a lot of that foundational work to kind of get that going and getting people around behind it, guys like yourself that are in the area and the community that love wrestling, want to see Division I wrestling be huge, right? And I'm super excited about that bigger vision for Division I wrestling in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right? There's multiple universities in Kentucky that I'm hoping to see, hey, wow, look what Bellarmine did. The small private school, came in and was able to win conference championships and put multiple guys in the national tournament, right? Was able to raise that money and get a lot of support around the program, get thousands of people at their dual meets. Like, that's what we're shooting for, right? And so ultimately, hopefully, UK, like you mentioned before, comes back and says, we got to get wrestling. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Louisville, right? Like, we got to get wrestling. What are we doing? That's my hope on the bigger scheme of things. But I don't have control over all what their mentality is, and so we're just going to take care of what's at hand right in front of us. And like right now, our next big initiative that we're going to be pushing for is just a big focus on our fundraising and getting people behind it. And we've established our club now with the RTC and getting those things really functioning at a high level where people can see who we are and what we're about and what we're doing. It's going to be really key. And once we get kind of those machines running like that, I think the higher level recruits aren't just going to come to me. We still got to go work, to get them. It's tough, but recruiting is never an easy process, no matter what program we're at. I don't care. But no, ultimately, those are kind of the next things that we see coming, down the line that are really key. So, but it'll come back to what I was talking about before. Like, our vision is, to produce high quality men that are kicking butt in their careers, right? And hey, we get to kick some butt on the mat at the same time. And so a lot of pieces go into that, but that's the main focus of what we're doing.
I think it's great that you said that you want other college programs in Kentucky to grow. I because of both our jobs, I get to talk to a lot of college wrestling coaches, and you'll hear somebody say something like, well, there's too many in our state. And Kentucky, population-wise, is one of the smallest states, so it'd be easy for you to say, no, we got too many, we need to be the only one. But at our NWCA leadership conference, talking about the CDOs, I remember a coach standing up one time, forget who it was, and he said, well, you know why our state is beating your state? And I was like, why? Talking to Indiana. And they said, because we have so many more colleges, and those guys learn to be coaches, and they become teachers, and they go back into the high schools, and it suddenly changed my epiphany on this. It was not try to be the only school with wrestling. It was, if we want to raise the level, we have to, the filter has to be bigger, the funnel has to be bigger. And I think it's an awesome, open vision of you to not try to be selfish with it.
No, it's and it doesn't always equate, per capita, more colleges per, for the state and better wrestling and all that, but there's no denying that, a state like Pennsylvania with the number of colleges they have there that's not a big part of why they have success, because of that reason. So many of those guys come back and give back to their towns and their communities that they're living. They stay in the state.
Yeah.
And, I think there's some colleges that do a heck of a job that way with it, and that's something that we're excited about too. Is just our guys giving back to the Louisville area, and just across the border here in Indiana as well.
Yeah, like, yeah, awesome. When your coaching tree starts being,
Yeah.
look at the guys around Kentucky and Southern Indiana that are coaches that wrestled for Bellarmine.
Yeah.
I hope I grab one of the first couple.
Yeah. One of my first coaching tree guys is Jason Russell, who's actually the head coach at Thomas More University, which is in Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of cool. So yeah, we reconnected. He wrestled for me when I was coaching in Ohio at Heidelberg University. Came out and coached with me at University of Wisconsin Whitewater when I was out there, and then he took over the job at Thomas More before I came here. But yeah, I love seeing those guys continue to give back and get into those roles at the collegiate level is cool. High school level is awesome as well.
It doesn't only mean you're old. It means you're doing something right.
It's gray showing through. I should have. Yeah, I should have.
So like last year, I'm just going to throw the Jeffersonville plugs in. Like our Coach Nick Stewart, Coach Tom Bartle, Coach Alonzo Shepard would come over and do a lot of your home meets, and I remember them announcing, if I wasn't in season and crazy, I remember you got your program's first Division I win.
Yep.
In a dual meet. And for those watching, if a dual meet's a team versus team, they've transitioned to Division I and they got their first win. So you got that monkey off your back. Yep. What is the next thing you're trying to accomplish on the mat, off the mat? But I'm kind of thinking of if you were setting a goal for your team next year on the mat, what do you want?
Yeah, so they're on the upper tier of our conference right now. Those teams handled us pretty easily this last year, and we're a little bit down numbers wise with just injuries and transition. You're gonna have some of that, but we have a big class coming in right now. We have about 16, 17 kids coming in, and so we're not gonna have to worry about some of the forfeit issues we had this year happening again, which I'm super excited for because this is something you never want to see in a dual meet situation. At the collegiate level, I just don't think it should happen very often. And so, with that being said, for us, we were really competitive with, I would say the teams outside the top three. And this year, that's my goal is to step in and to turn that around and be able to beat those teams and to be able to put some more damage in those other programs. And so. Ultimately, accomplishment-wise, goal-wise, hey, we're looking to level it up, and yeah, we're not just happy with, getting a couple, conference, dual wins and that. We're shooting for much higher than that, and that's part. Think about over half of my team next year are going to be freshmen, and so from that side of things, it's going to look a little different. Last year we wrestled a lot of duals. This year we're probably going to cut back on the duals a little bit, do a little bit more open tournament, give these young guys an opportunity to get some matches and room for us to have a little more development than just having a match a week type of situation. So that's really what we're shooting for, and hoping our upperclassmen to lead the way and to really set up more of a leadership model that was a little bit tougher to do when there's transition to me coming in. But I'm really excited about our upperclassmen returning because they good kids that have bought into it and they're saying let's do this. They're all in. And so I'm really excited to see how they mentor the young guys coming into it to kind of get them up to speed right away. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, like you're talking about leadership. I mean, for those that don't know, like there's only been 2 coaches in Bellarmine history, right?
Yep.
And you're only the second, or would it be the first? Well, you'll be the first coach in Bellarmine history once they're allowed to be in the NCAA tournament. So when kids are coming in, there's a lot of like newness to. It's your first time doing it with them, so I think that's kind of cool. Like it's our first time, guys. So you're bringing somebody in, you're bringing a parent in. Like, what do you think is critical? Like, we're starting this thing together, parent and student. What's critical for them to know about your program or Bellarmine?
Yeah. So I think a couple things are really important for parents, to know about what we're trying to do. Similar to what we talked about before, academically, they need to be pursuing something at a high level, right? We're not just kind of getting into school to kind of get by and get a degree, right? Yeah. When we recruit kids, we're recruiting with some intentionality that they also have the motives to say, yeah, of course I'm going to graduate in college, right? That's going to be a given, right? We're going to give the supports to them and the resources, obviously, to help them get through that whole process. But ultimately, I want them to see that, hey, this is a school that's serious about academics. We're serious about winning. And to be honest with you, like it's not difficult to find high-level kids, like good human beings that love the sport of wrestling, right, that want to compete at the collegiate level. There's a lot of them out there. There's not enough college programs for those kids.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but the reality is, for me, is like, hey, we also need to find those guys that are serious about winning on the mat, right? That are really committed to putting my all into that, putting their all into that process, and the parents to support them, right, in that. And so sometimes, yeah, that's financial supporting from them, and sometimes it's just telling them, giving them some attaboys and, and sending them on their way. But we want parents and recruits to know, hey, we're serious about winning. We're serious about winning academically, and you don't have to sacrifice either. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in hearing a kid will talk, oh, I went to this school and they said I shouldn't, do this program academically because it'd be too hard while I'm doing wrestling. It's like, what do we, how could somebody possibly direct somebody in the path of being excellent in their life in only one area? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. And so for us, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that match for parents and kids to understand that and to want to be a part of that, to know they're going to be surrounded with people that are doing the same thing. And so when you're looking for school and you're preparing, then you're going to show that in your demonstration, right? You're going to show that you're serious about school by taking care of your schoolwork and continue to rise on your GPA, taking harder, level classes and putting yourself out there. Not be afraid to take the ACT, SAT, even though most schools are test optional like we are now, right? But also, hey, they're serious about wrestling, and they don't have to be an all-year wrestler, but to be able to see them compete in some freestyle and Greco wrestling, that's important to me. I want to see that they love the sport and they can't get enough of it, right? It doesn't mean I don't want to see them. They don't need to have 200 plus matches a year. I don't need to. They don't have that. But to be able to see them compete throughout the year is shows me that that's something that's really important to them, something they want and they enjoy doing, as opposed to something that they've just done because they're good at and kind of getting forced to do. So those are a few things I think parents need to know about what we're doing, and if that's a fit for them, then hey, it's gonna be an easy sell for us.
I had two takeaways. I know sometimes when I'm interviewing you, what I'm really trying to do is learn, and I'm writing down my notes of how to be a better coach. And two things I was taking out of there is, one of the things we just said, being excellent about multiple points in your life. I had a kid in class the other day saying to me, like, well, I don't know if I want to play a sport in college because I want to be a doctor. And I said, I don't get how that hurts. Well, I need to always be in the classroom. My point of view is, if you go to pre-med at Bellarmine or IU or whatever, like, now I got a Ned Shuck saying, how's your grades? And I said to that kid, I go, who did my first knee surgery? I've had a lot of surgeries. Was a guy that played line for the Detroit Lions. And I go, what? Cool. Like, he was excellent at everything. Yeah. If he only picked to be good at one thing, he might not have failed at it. Or might not have got it. The other thing I was taking from what you're saying is, as we keep mentioning Division I and things like that, I think it's an honor for me to meet you, because there's 68 Division I teams?
I think about 78, 79.
78.
Yeah.
I always forget the exact number. They grow, they shrink.
Somewhere in there.
NAI is growing super fast. Women's wrestling is growing super fast. But Division I wrestling is an elite thing. And when Bellarmine is making their schedule, it's not like, I'm not knocking any school, but random Kentucky football team has 300 other Division I schools to find in their schedule, and they can go winning record right off the bat. Yeah. So this isn't a planned question, but how do you, when all you have left is there's Big Ten schools, I'm not a college wrestling school. There's the Pac-12, or like, you got these juggernaut schools. Bellarmine jump in. How do you plan your schedule in that?
Well, that's funny. So if the viewers want to check out my TikTok, I posted one video so far.
Okay.
But it's in relation to scheduling. So I showed some of my phone the other day, and it was like 30 unread messages, and it was no joke. All of them were coaches reaching out wanting to schedule us. And I'm just like, I'm not doing that part of my, I'm taking care of some other priorities before I'm doing that right now. But we have no shortage of schools that want to wrestle us right now. Part of qualifying for the national tournament is, an RPI ranking system where they need to have Division I wins. It puts them in a better status towards the end of the year to get automatic bids and at-large bids if they don't qualify in their conference. So there's a factor in there. So having a higher winning percentage and wins against other Division I teams is really important to give your guys the best opportunity to compete in the national tournament. And so there's no shortage of teams right now that think that they can whoop our butt.
Yeah.
And so, we're fielding calls from everybody. But my first one was, say, hey, if I don't answer your call today, call me tomorrow. But I'm still not going to pick up.
Man, I'm thinking in high school we get we have a seating meeting, and I'm furious at the end of the seating meeting because I'm like, your kid was undefeated but never wrestled our kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a similar type?
There is. There's still some. But the strength of schedule is important too.
Okay.
That also factors into that. But yeah, no, there's still some of that. There's still some conferences that actually have, a little bit easier road that way. Yep.
So, back to the trail I was on. So you've came to Bellarmine. You're building it. You're talking about personal fulfillment, kids fulfillment. But then you got this wife at home and these 2 kids. And if you look at your schedule, where you're at all the time, like, hey, you got this home life. So how you balancing that? How are the boys liking the area? How's your wife liking everything? Like, what's going on at home?
Yeah, I would say I always just kind of laugh at the when people talk about, hey, how the balance of your life, like, you're keeping things in balance. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, it's not in balance, and I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think that balance is the path to whatever fulfillment, success, however you want to measure your life worth, right? For me, there's definitely going to be a counterbalance, right? And my family is a huge part of that, right? And so, for me, when I'm doing my job, I try to do my job. When I'm doing my family, I try to do, just be with my family, right? Boys got baseball games, like, I'm making every effort I can to do that, right? Not scheduling hey, working at this camp or clinic when I know my son's already got a baseball game.
Yeah.
Will that hurt me down the road with, whether I land a certain recruit or not? It could. It might. For me, it's just like, well, this is my only time with my family, right? My only time with my kids. My oldest is 11. I got 7 more years. That's it.
Yeah.
And this kid that I might be recruiting from XYZ school, I might get him, and he might be a part of our program, which we might be able to have a mutual interaction with, right? And so I try to take care of my family first in that regard, but it does mean I'm still away a lot of traveling for recruiting, still a lot of traveling for competition and training, but I would say it's a counterbalance, and it's not easy, but I think it just goes back to figuring out what's most important to me, and when I'm setting up, hey, do I do this or don't I do that? Hey, am I here today? Well, yeah, I'm here. I don't have to. It's part of my work day normally, right? There's no problem for me to be here. If it was at 7 o'clock at night, I might have said no. And so just measuring those and what's most important in your life, and what things are going to say yes to add value to what you're trying to do, and what things aren't. And there's a lot of awesome opportunities out there, right? There's a lot of really cool things that I could be a part of for sure. That would be really cool. Would be fun. It would help our program, but you just can't say yes to everything from my mentality. Like, saying yes is important to growing and getting our word out there and telling people what Bellarmine Wrestling's about, telling them what I'm about. But ultimately, yeah, my family is really important, and they're to speak to the other part of it. They're loving it. My wife got to experience the Kentucky Derby too, so that was pretty cool. I got to do the Oaks and Thurby as well, so she didn't get to do those, so that was.
You were working.
Yeah, I was working. I think I put something out there on social media. Tough day on the job today, hanging out at Churchill Downs, but no, the boys are doing great in school, and they're involved in wrestling and baseball and soccer right now. All of them going on, so it's crazy.
There's my multi-sport athlete plug. Wherever we're looking, everybody knows that. If I said one thing. Another interesting part, just to reiterate, I love what you're saying about the balance and that there is no balance. I think that's a great way to say it. I have parents all the time, like if I was sending my kid to you, I don't have kids, but my nephews are saying, hey, I want to go wrestle for Coach Shuck. If you told me like, hey, I can't meet them tonight because my kid has a baseball game, I would honestly be like, oh man, I want to send my kid to that guy even more now.
Yeah.
Like, you could be selfish and grab my kid, but you're going to put yours first. I think that means there's a day that you'll put my kid first when he needs it. So
yeah,
I like that. And a lot of parents, I'm talking to any parent listener out there, I hear parents say all the time, like why didn't you come to your kid's meet? Or I don't want my kid to go to this meet because we have a family event. And I always am like, well, that's the wrong balance. I think the whole family should be at the kid's meet.
Sure.
Because that kid's going to be done wrestling one day. So
yeah.
I'm going to steal that, put it in my list of notes of I kind of keep a philosophy going,
Sure.
and I'm going to write "There is no balance," and that's going to be from you. I got two more things I kind of wanted to cover with you. Then I want to just span off on one more of my favorite topics, and we'll say that last. I think it's one of yours too. So your path to get here has been kind of unique, and I'm going to name drop a little bit. If you're a wrestling fan, listen to this. If I said names like Iowa in wrestling, you have the Gables, the Branzes. This is something that Coach Shuck has experienced this, and then if you go to legendary USA Wrestling names, Mike Houck, like these are some big names, and then Bellarmine, little old Bellarmine, right? Nationwide, you might not have heard of him, but this is the coach that can drop these names. So, what's your path here? Who have you worked with that kind of give that? Why are you leading Bellarmine?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that a big part of some of the paths that have doors that have opened has been because of my roots and going to college at the University of Iowa for sure. Being able to rub shoulders with Dan Gable every day, with Tom Brands, Jim Zaleski, Bill Zadek, who is now the head USA Wrestling coach, right, and done a phenomenal job there. There's a bunch of others, right, a bunch of other legends around that program at that time. Being able to work with them and utilize the things they've done really well on the wrestling side of things as and training mentality and coaching mentality, and still access them today. We're just out at Vegas at the U.S. Open, and had a conversation with Coach Brands about the certain area of my program I wanted to quiz him on, and something they've done very well on, and they've always been super generous and gracious to give back, and so I lean on those guys for that stuff, but it's not cookie cutter version of them, right? What I'm going to do at Bellarmine is going to be different than what they're doing over there at Iowa now. And but I still lean on them for expertise. But you mentioned Mike Houck. That was such a gold mine that I landed on my first high school coaching job. Mike Houck was working in the district, and who worked at USA Wrestling as the national teams coach for Greco for a while, and I got to coach with them for 4 years at the high school level. And somebody that really mentored me a lot, because maybe the saying, well, I don't know if it's maybe not quite appropriate. I'll just say I was. As a young coach, you think you can come in and step in and just beat the world, right?
Yeah.
By single leg finishes, right? How to appropriately ride and pin people, right? And you're gonna dominate the world because of that. And it's so much more. He helped me so much on the mental side of the game, and preparing and understanding an athlete. He's a genius in that regard, and so that was really cool. And from there, I actually got to coach at Augsburg College, who has won multiple Division III national championships, so being a part of that program right after that was really cool. Jim Mosloff was, really a big guy that's now the head coach there. Kind of getting me involved with Minnesota USA Wrestling and Augsburg. And I've worked with a ton of people. Ben Peterson was another big mentor of mine, who actually was Mike Houck's coach at Maranatha Baptist Bible College. A guy that we were talking about offset, Jim Grunwald, he coached Jim in college as well, but huge faith mentor. But again, a guy's an Olympic gold medalist, Olympic silver medalist, made the 80 team before the boycott. Like, just incredible human beings that I've been blessed to be a part of, that have helped shape my coaching. Or you mentioned your philosophy, like you adding to it all the time. That's the same for me. Like, you're constantly changing and evolving. If you're not, you're falling behind, or you're getting stagnant, and you're losing a little bit of your edge. And so I've used all those guys, and it'll be the same with me in our time together. Like, you're going to do something really well with your program, I'm going to try to take and say, hey, how can we do that, right? Yeah, maybe there's definitely parts of that, right? There's definitely parts of every one of my experiences where something, hey, I saw somebody do that. It's not how I want to do it, for whatever reason. But yeah, it's making it your own, right? Leaning on the people that have had an impact on you, and what's most important to you in terms of your principles, your values, your goals, and those things, and tying them all together to figure out, all right, this is how we're going to move forward. And so, some of those people you mentioned are definitely people I lean on for that.
Man, if I could open your Rolodex, like, for those people watching, if you're not a wrestling fan, you're an Olympics fan. He just dropped like 5 Olympic gold medalist names, but I think the interesting part, because he only mentioned Ben Peterson on the gold, is much of what we're finding about you today is your faith. And I know this is we're a public school, we're not talking too much about faith, but like if you go to Ben Peterson, Dan Gable, the Brands, Jim Grudenwald, these other names, there's a common theme, and it's not that they all were Olympians, it's that they all lived their life a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I'm complimenting, whatever. Like, I can see you live your life that way, and if we put ourselves around those types of people, you're going to be that type of person, and you can
good
see
things
that's
are
what
going to
we're
happen.
getting here.
Yeah, good things are going to happen for you and the people around you when you have those type of people around you, for sure. So yeah, I've been really blessed.
Yeah, it's almost like if you took all those guys and they each wrote a book, they're kind of the same book. They win a gold medal at the end, or they coach a Division I team at the end, but it was how they lived every day. Like, you read those guys' books, you don't see a lot of partying in there. You don't see, we talk a lot in our room about, there's a difference between fun. I'm going to ask you a question, and you give me a definition. I don't want you to just have fun wrestling. Everybody gets into wrestling to make friends and have fun. But eventually, the only thing I really want my guys to do is to be satisfied. Like, to look back and go, man, I'm really satisfied with what I did today. Because I think people's definition of fun a lot of times doesn't make them satisfied in life.
Sure.
Yeah. What is your like? Is it just fun, or what is your definition of fun? What does somebody get, or what do you get in the fun world out of all this stuff?
Yeah, I would probably align with you pretty well on that. I mean, in terms of, for me, it's you've heard wrestlers probably come to you and talk to you about, hey, I'm not wrestling right now because it's not fun for me.
Like, a nosebleed isn't fun, dude. I don't know what to say.
And parents will call you and say, hey, he's just not having fun with it. I want my kid to have fun. And I don't think there's a ton of truth to that. I don't think there's a ton of value to that. Whether they're fully enjoying it, hopping into every practice, skipping in, big old smiles on their face, that's one thing, right? They don't have to be doing that to get value out of the wrestling experience. And most of the wrestling experiences, to be honest, aren't going to be that way, right? But it's a commitment, right? You're learning commitment, and you're learning how to do that. And, at the highest level of training, I talk to our guys, like, when you learn to love, training and competing at this real high, where you're physically just trained and mentally exhausted, and you learn to love that feeling, now you've become a very dangerous athlete, right? You can do some incredible things that the common man, isn't willing to put themselves through and to get to. And so, for me, fun is, it's an emotion, right, that we get to experience because of joy, a sense of accomplishment sometimes, right? It's a game mentality, right, which I think there's definitely room for in wrestling, a little bit more of the game mentality within the sport, right? But the reality is, like, we make those choices. Kids are making those choices, whether they're going to have fun or not, right? And people say, well, wrestling isn't fun to get your head pounded in the mat. Well, it's like, sure, but maybe the challenge is. Yeah. Maybe you can appreciate and enjoy the challenge, One guy, I know Coit Cooper, who's an Indiana guy, taught me a while back now about was, hey, what's the biggest challenges that you're having, right? Okay, well, here's your biggest challenge you're having. Okay, what's the gift in that? Like, what do you getting out? What's the positive way to look at that? What's the gift? And so that's something I try to do daily, just look at my challenges and what's the gift in that big challenge that I have, right? So wrestling is a big challenge. Getting your head pounded on the mat, well, that's a challenge for this kid to figure out what it's not. Is that always fun and enjoyable? Like, you get thrown down on the mat, I can't wait till that happens again? No, probably not, right? But the sense of us pursuing having fun as the ultimate goal, I think there's it's a misdirection, a course that needs to be corrected, I guess, if you will. If that's the goal. I'm just only out to do things that have fun. It's gonna be a tough life for you, I think.
Yeah, I want to say back to the parent when they're saying to me, like, my kid's not having fun. I'm like, do you think I'm having fun right now? Because my job's actually teaching. I'm not having fun with this conversation. But you were mentioning all these names, like reading Jim Grunewald's book. I know I just read it. You got it. He's talking about a shoulder dislocation. You can see the humerus of his shoulder in his armpit. But when I'm looking at this book, I'm like, 2-time Olympian, that sounds fun. Yeah. Well, that's what he had to do to get it. Or there's that picture of Jordan Burroughs from when Worlds was in Vegas, and his eye was split open, and it's really big. If everybody knows that picture, but he's got a gold medal on, right? And you're like, was that fun to get there?
Yeah.
Like the journey, isn't always fun.
That's right.
So that's why I've been trying to teach kids a lot about the satisfaction.
Yeah.
A lot of times is more important than the fun. But what I wanted to do, just to wrap up, because we've been about 45 minutes now, the word I was going to mention was Greco, because not many people understand what Greco is, and you might shut this video off right now because you're like, I don't know what that is, but those guys that are Greco fans, and I want to be able to put this on Twitter and send it to our USA Grit group. Some words on Greco, what you're doing in the area to develop it, some of the guys you've coached. I'm just saying the word Greco, and I want you to go with it.
Yeah, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's been a foundation of my coaching since I started, the high school level. So was blessed that I had another incredible kid, Pat Smith, kind of dropped in my lap. He was a young kid that's coming into the high school program when I was there. And I got to work with him for 4 years, developing him as a wrestler, and Greco was a part of what he really enjoyed doing. And now has made 3 world teams, just won the Pan Ams this last weekend. So from that side of things, it's really cool. I was fortunate to have Mike Helk there to really show me what it really truly was, right? Because I didn't have a lot of training in my high school and collegiate experience in that regard, and so. He is absolutely a phenomenal coach in Greco and just gets the basics all the way to elite level stuff. And obviously Minnesota Storm has been a very successful Greco program. So being able to be a part of their weekly training sites that they had while I was coaching there for 6 years in Minnesota was awesome. But for me, I think it's just a very misunderstood. I think Greco is very misunderstood. A lot of coaches feel like it only translates. Freestyle is the only one that really translates to folk style. And I couldn't be on a farther spectrum from that. I feel like the skill level that you get on the Greco side of things is incredible. Your hand fighting stuff, your body positioning, really learning how to manipulate and control your own body and manipulate your opponents, and especially in upper level upper body attacks is really important. We're very fortunate to have Momir here, who is in the Louisville area, who's Olympic champion. Yeah. That gets to come in and work with our guys. We're fired up about that and having that opportunity. But yeah, it's a really cool sport, and I think if you haven't done it, it's okay. Just do it.
Yeah.
Learn it, right? If you don't understand it, get in there. Just like us older guys, hey, we can still grab some bodies, and doesn't mean we're going live and doing combat, but we can grab and learn these positions and find out the subtleties. And there's so much happening in those body positions that you can't see. That freestyle and folk style is a little bit easier to see. Single leg finish, so much of the body movement that's happening is very subtle, and so I love learning about that. When Pat grabs a hold of me now, I'm falling all over the place trying to wrestle him. He's absolutely phenomenal, but it's something I'd love to see. I know USA Wrestling has made a recent hire to try to revamp some things, I think, and Ivan Ivanov I think is a great hire. I'm really excited to see what direction he wants to kind of take it, and how he leads, Coach Lindeland and the rest of the group that's right there right now, and really excited to see what comes from that. But I think the future is bright if we get more and more people to give it a shot and really put themselves in there. And there's a lot to be learned that can be beneficial in any style, but it doesn't have to be just for the benefit of another style. It could be, Pat Smith is. Had some college success, but wasn't necessarily the best Minnesota Gopher when he wrestled for them. But hey, he's made 3 world teams and won 4 Pan Am games. So he's traveled all over the world, right, doing this sport that he loves doing, and so there's a lot of opportunity for our country that way.
Yeah, I had somebody say to me one time, like, well, Greco's really easy. It's like 3 moves. I'm like, yeah, you got to be the world's best at 3 moves. In the weight room, I always say I want to try to be 8 hours a day I'm in the weight room, 2 hours a day I'm in the wrestling room. So I kind of think a lot more weightlifting, and I'll say to people, and they say, what's your philosophy on weights? I say I want to be the best at teaching 14-year-olds. I want to be the best in the world at teaching 14-year-olds weightlifting. And I think for Greco, it's like, okay, you think it's only 3 moves? You have to be the best in the world at 3 moves. And if you can be the best in the world at those 3 moves, or just short of it, I mean, you could really dominate in folk style with it. So that's our plug for our club. I know our club's going this weekend to Greco State Finals, and hopefully we can get a few champs and maybe get invited to your RTC. So
Awesome.
I'm looking to see my notes. And as we close out, where is a good place, or how would we find out more about your program and you, if we could put a plug in for that here at the end?
Yeah, so social media is a good spot to find us. Maybe for the Facebook crew, they can just search Bellarmine, University Wrestling. Can follow us on that page. We're kind of getting going with some of that stuff. But Twitter and Facebook, or Twitter and Instagram, BU Knights, WRE for wrestling, is where they can find us on there. And then myself personally on Instagram, I think I'm just Ned Shuck. And then on TikTok, like I mentioned before, I just started, so I think I'm Coach_Shuck or something like that on there. So, but yeah, those are good spots to get a kind of a front door seat to see a little bit of what's going on, the facilities, right? What some of the guys are doing, what some of the what's happening with competition, some of that. So it's a good spot that we're looking to continue to build and do more of, and do things like this to let people know what we're about, what I'm about, and the direction of this program. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, guys, I know our Clay and Mr. Dench, they're going to go through and grab those tags, I think we call them, and throw them at the bottom here, so you can look at YouTube and look at our WJHI Facebook page, and we'll have all the Bellarmine University handles there with it. So
Perfect.
I want to wrap up. That was almost an hour with Coach Ned Shuck, the Division I Bellarmine University Knights, and we're excited about year number 2 with you. Thank you for coming.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.